Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include the latest Diablo 4 news, including why Whoopi Goldberg is mad at Blizzard, the latest in the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard, a roundup of some of the top Summer Games Fest news, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Now, before we move on, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Bloodline Heroes of Lithis, a fun gacha game with great visuals. I've spoken about this game a couple times before. You can download and try the game for free via my referral code in the description or by scanning the QR code. And by doing so, you'll also get a great starter pack worth $20. And now is actually the best time to join in on the game because they have their Bloodline anniversary event going from June 1st until June 28th. They're giving away tons of rewards. You can claim 10 free summons, 3,000 diamonds, and a bunch of resources just by logging in every day. Every 2 weeks, you can collect new bloodlines with unique abilities for each gender. These bloodlines just released recently: the Titan Warriors, Enforcers of the Iron Will of Olympus, and the Nine-Tailed Vulpins, heralding from an eastern land of mysterious power. And you can customize your bloodlines by marrying any two bloodlines, resulting in over 1,000 hybrids. So you have tons of possible combinations for your lineup strategies. And you don't just get new characters by summoning, but also by breeding with companions and capturing prisoners. And not only do hybrids inherit the talents and traits of their parents, but also their unique appearances. 2 different family trees fused into one new look. And honestly, the designs are great. The graphics in this game are fantastic. You can also choose to buy skins to further customize your champions if you want. If you're into PvP, the game offers special rewards. You can get uniquely designed hybrid champions called Bloodcraft Legends by earning points in seasonal guild wars. On top of all that, there's the strategy game element of building up a kingdom and its economy as you play through a campaign that explores different storylines, all while raising heirs with your waifu or husbando companion. You can freely swap the gender. And new bloodlines and legendary hybrids are constantly being released, so there's effectively endless possibilities to find the best hybrid for you. So download the game now. It's free on Android and iOS. Grab that free anniversary starter pack by using my link in the description or scanning the QR code, and the first 30 players to leave their in-game account ID and username in the first pinned comment section below will receive a free legendary female Titan Warrior. Kicking things off with Diablo 4 news. Last weekend, just a couple days after the launch of Diablo 4, we saw a pretty significant balance patch hit the game. The devs were nerfing and balancing some of the skills that were way overperforming, skills and legendary aspects, legendary items. But they also went and buffed some of the underperforming stuff. And in the middle of all this, they've also been trying to fix some, well, it's not really an exploit, but some of the fastest XP runs that just revolve around hammering out half a dungeon over and over and over. They've been messing with monster density in these zones in order to kill these really dull XP runs that are the most efficient way to level up, but obviously is not the intended way for us to be playing the game, nor is it the most enjoyable way for us to be playing the game. So all these nerfs to all these different things are good, especially so early in the game. It sucks that it happens in the middle of a hardcore race that kind of messes that all up, but outside of the hardcore race, for the rest of us, it's going to help put the game into a better place in time for Season 1. They also buffed the world boss on Tier 3 and Tier 4, which is great. They could probably buff it even further, honestly. It still feels a little on the easy side, especially compared to beta. The Ashava fight was so good early on before everyone became overpowered, but the first wave of the Ashava fight felt really tough. And even on the second beta, being level 20, not 25, not having access to our alts, it was even harder. I missed that difficulty because it was my first time experiencing the other 2 world bosses, and I was just tanking through them. I was primed for this epic Ashava fight where I'm getting one shot left and right, and I'm trying to learn the boss mechanics, and I'm evading, and then I'm like, how much damage are these things really doing? And I just started tanking my way through, and I'm like, well, that shouldn't be. But basically about the nerfs. When the devs built and balanced the game, they had in mind certain damage numbers that we'd be hitting. And apparently those damage numbers are being exceeded tremendously, which is why they had to really tone things down in certain areas. Plus, some players are finding ways to be so indestructible, to be able to build up so much toughness, so much survivability, that again, they're just tanking through all the game mechanics, and it's just not the way they intended the game to be played or for the game to be balanced. I'm playing a Twisting Blades rogue. Twisting Blades got nerfed. It was really, really, really strong. I know there's been some confusion as well around the Twisting Blades nerf, because they later had another hotfix that addressed the tooltip. In short, expert rogue player and member of Maxroll, Wudijo, lays it out in his video. Currently, Twisting Blades is operating as intended. He did the testing, you can see it in his video. He confirms that yes, it is weaker now, but it is still good. It's just less forgiving. You need to be good with the playstyle and play it properly now in order to maximize your effectiveness with it. Now, the Barbarian is a class that got hit heavy by the nerfs because there were a lot of really broken combinations with shouts and with whirlwind and with certain aspects, so they had to take some time to retool and rebalance the Barb, bring it back down in power. The Druid got hit a little bit, at least one of the Druid's builds got hit. It was way overperforming, it got nerfed. Necromancers got some nice buffs almost across the board, but especially to pets. Probably not enough, probably still not enough to make end game pet Necromancer viable yet, but it's a step in the right direction. Hopefully we see more in that regard. In the original patch, there was also some miscommunication where they stated that the spawn rate of treasure goblins was nerfed. They forgot to add in the PvP zone. Not across the board, not everywhere in the world, just in the PvP zone. Now, as of the time of this recording, because some other broken build was discovered, 2 aspects have been temporarily disabled. Edge Masters and aspect of Berserk Ripping. If you have a weapon that uses one of those aspects, the aspect part is disabled. It's not working. The weapon itself works, but you're not benefiting from that aspect. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, it'll be re-enabled, but again, as of right now, it is off. I don't expect it to be off for very long, however, so hopefully, maybe Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, do stay tuned for some notice from the Blizzard team. Generally, Adam Fletcher will post on the forums and say when it's going to be re-enabled. I'll also note before moving on that I released yesterday my beginner's guide for Diablo 4. And there's a lot of content in there, and even if you've been playing Diablo 4 now for a week, there's probably at least one thing in there that'll be new for you to learn. It covers tips, best practices, things in your game settings that you might not have known about, like, hey, you can turn off that I'm out of mana thing. We go over some of the better skills to use while leveling up, some of the better aspects to imprint onto your gear, when to sell items, when to salvage items. Do check that out if you haven't seen it. Now, onto this story about Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg posted a video to Instagram complaining that Diablo 4 is not on Mac. And I was just mind-boggled. I mean, here, let's roll part of the clip.
This is me fetching about my favorite game, Diablo, which has been taken off of Apple. This really pissed me off. And I love my game. So, Blizzard Entertainment, this is Whoopi. You know how much I love Diablo. I would like y'all to let those of us who use our apples to play, allow us to play on the Apple.
So I see this and I'm wondering, is this reality? Is this some weird marketing technique? Like, did Blizzard pay Whoopi Goldberg to advertise Diablo 4? Well, I mean, it's non-disclosed, number one. Number two, she's complaining about the game. She's not praising it, so what's going on here? And as it turns out, no, Whoopi Goldberg just genuinely plays Diablo games. There's a clip from 10 years ago on The View, where it's a talk show that she was on, where they're talking about video games. They're talking about Grand Theft Auto and why it's bad and evil because you beat up hookers and you kill police officers. And Whoopi Goldberg says, "That's why I play Diablo. We just kill demons."
Also, just the complete sexualization, all that, that horrible, the way of women, and that's just, you know.
See, that's why I play Diablo. Because I only kill demons and monsters and stuff, see.
So I'm hoping that maybe someone within Whoopi Goldberg's circle could teach her how to, I'm not a Mac user, but what is it called? Sideload Windows, so that she can play the game through Windows, because it is true that this is the first Diablo game to not run on a Mac. Blizzard has historically been really good in giving Mac support for their games. This is the first Diablo game where, nope, will not run on a Mac natively. In other Diablo news this week, we learned that Diablo 4 is the fastest selling Blizzard game ever. Now, this does include all the early access and pre-launch sales. They did that big early access beta a couple months back, which certainly helped drum up sales. They gave the 4-day head start, which helped drum up sales. But nonetheless, this is a massive milestone. Also, Diablo 4 released on multiple platforms at once. Diablo 3, for instance, just released on PC at first, and then it was later on that it released on console. Now we're getting a full-on multi-platform launch. Back in the day, Diablo 3 was Blizzard's fastest-selling PC title at 3.5 million units sold within its first week, I believe. Then Shadowlands beat it recently at 3.7. These titles only launched on PC, however, so we know that Diablo 4 has at least 3.7 plus sales across all platforms. I think unless things start to turn sour within a couple of weeks, I think this hype wave is going to ride through to Season 1, Season 2, and potentially make Diablo 4 the biggest selling Diablo game ever. Which is saying a lot because Diablo 3 was one of the top selling PC games of all time. And we actually have confirmation now that they have not just one, but 2 expansions in the works. Now, I had an interview way back in December, if you haven't seen that. Do check that out. Interview with Rod Ferguson and Joe Shelley, Rod Ferguson, the Diablo franchise manager, Joe Shelley, the Diablo 4 game director, in which it was mentioned that there will be expansions, plural, to Diablo 4. Now, in an interview on the Kinda Funny Xcast podcast, Rod Ferguson confirmed that they're working on Expansion 1 and also starting to work on Expansion 2. Basically, they have their team structured in a way that they are parallelizing their pipeline. Rod said, quote, "Right now, as I sit here, we're about to launch the main game. We're finishing up Season 1. We're working on Season 2. We're working on Expansion 1. We're kicking off Expansion 2. All that's happening right now." Blizzard has an absolute army working on Diablo 4 content. And I'm excited to see what the Season 1 offerings are going to be. Last we heard that Season 1 is going to launch mid to late July. And it should be no surprise that Diablo 4 has been selling so well given the absolute marketing blitz that Blizzard's been up to. I mean, look at this. They really went the extra mile, setting huge fires in Canada so that the New York skyline could ominously look like this. Artist Halsey, who's apparently a Diablo fan, also released a music video of her song Lilith, a Diablo 4 anthem, which is a reimagining of her original track, Lilith. And it features Suga from BTS. I'm probably saying that wrong, I don't know pop culture. But the video is pretty cool. They filmed it in the Chapelle des Jésuites in Cambrai, France, where they had the Diablo artwork take over the church. Blizzard also ran a campaign in which they got Megan Fox to read people's eulogies. Basically, they told people, hey, clip your deaths, send them in via Twitter. I sent mine in, and here's my death clip. What the f***? And in case you're wondering, I played as Rhykker Kane through my story playthrough, which you can watch over here. And the eulogy I got.
Rest in peace, Rhykker. You were brave. You were strong. You were messily torn apart by demons before your time. We'll make sure your hat makes it into your coffin.
The hat comment was just chef's kiss. And finishing up with more serious Diablo news, Blizzard posted 2 short stories that take place within the Diablo universe. I haven't had a chance to read them yet, but you can check them out for yourself, link in the description below. In other quick news, McFarlane Toys has announced a partnership with Blizzard Entertainment. It's a licensing agreement to develop collectible figures for Diablo, World of Warcraft, and Warcraft Arclight Rumble. McFarlane is pretty much the #1 name in this space, so I'm looking forward to seeing some really high quality figures here. Then on to some quick news about the merger or acquisition of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. Last week I said that the FTC actually cleared the acquisition. That's true, but I misunderstood because it's the Korean FTC, which is also called the FTC. My mistake, I haven't got a lot of sleep lately and was blasting Diablo videos, so whoops. Not only has the FTC still not approved of the merger, the FTC is actually fining Microsoft $20 million. Not because of that, but because it allegedly of course, collected information about minors without their parents' consent. Basically, Microsoft is being accused of having broken COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Kids sign up for the Xbox services, they don't tell their parents. Microsoft gets the personal data on the children. Everything is... Now, about the acquisition itself, again, the major roadblock right now is the UK. The UK has denied it, and unless they reverse their decision, it's dead in the water. However, apparently Microsoft is already looking at alternatives that could entail just cutting the UK out entirely. Apparently, extreme options are being considered, like leaving the UK, not doing business there anymore. Another option would be leave the UK and then sell your games in the UK through another company. Basically just via a distributor that is in the UK. In other news, the Summer Games Fest took place this week. There weren't a whole lot of new reveals, but we did get some information about existing games. I'll go over some of the highlights for me. We got a beautiful trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is launching early next year. It's a standalone game that's releasing on 2 discs, and this alternate universe stuff that they're doing is just a really cool way to reimagine a classic game. Then we also got a new trailer for Path of Exile 2, and man is it looking good. The character and enemy animations look amazing, and it ends on this cliffhanger. I just wanted to see more. ExileCon takes place on July 28th and 29th, and that's when we'll find out everything about Path of Exile 2, including its beta launch date. We got an announced trailer for Sonic Superstars, a new Sonic side-scrolling game with multiplayer, coming this fall. We got the launch date of Spider-Man 2, that's going to be on October 20th. We got the official gameplay debut trailer of Mortal Kombat 1. I'm not even sure we can show this on YouTube. My jaw just dropped at the fatalities. And overall, it just makes me happy to watch. Mortal Kombat was like my first favorite game as a kid. I was like 6 years old, playing on Super Nintendo, and this is just all my favorite characters looking the way they did, or at least a modernized version of how they did. For a while, Mortal Kombat was like introducing all these weird characters that I didn't recognize anymore. Now, this is just like my childhood in HD, and I love it. We also got the co-op campaign reveal trailer for Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, which will play up to 3 players. I really had fun with Space Marine, so I'm looking forward to this title. And in other news, now that the System Shock remake is out, and a remaster of System Shock 2 is coming soon, the question is, what comes next for the devs? And Stephen Kick, the CEO of Night Dive and the game director of the System Shock remake, hinted that one thing that they might want to do, or that they have interest in doing, would be making an XCOM style game set within the System Shock universe. In particular, he said it could be a prequel. I do like XCOM style games. What do you folks think? Would you be interested in this kind of game in the System Shock universe? Sound off in the comments. In some super quick Grim Dawn news, we got a massive patch filled with bug fixes and sweeping large balance changes. There are so many. The patch notes are enormous. It's just beautiful to see the devs still continuing to support the game in such a way. I mean, sure, it's not giant new content, but it's a huge amount of balance changes. And I'll finish up the video by saying that I was invited to do an AMA on Reddit, an Ask Me Anything, that took place on Friday. I'll link the thread if you want to see my answers, or, let me know, do you want me to make a video exploring the AMA, talking through my answers, maybe answering more of those questions, maybe expanding on my answers? Let me know, sound off in the comments if that interests you. Because that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we discussed, in a non-spoiler way, how Diablo 4's story might be erasing the hero of Diablo 3. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhyker's Raiders for more gaming content.